What's the deal, Wiz fam? Here with another reaction for y'all. Look, I don't know if this is clickbait on his part, but killed by animals, 7 horrifying deaths number 2. Look here, I thought I was gonna look for like animal attacks because back then, like around like 13, 14, young Wiz used to like to look up, not look up, but on Animal Planet and shit like that. Used to watch like Weird, True and Freaky, Untamed and Uncut. Um, I was into Meerkat Manor for a little bit too. I don't give a fuck. River Monsters, Animal Planet was just that show that you got into if you wanted to see some shit that you was tired of seeing. Nickelodeon, you just tired of seeing cartoons and shit. But shout out to my mans who made this. Echoes, hit him with that nice sub, hit him with that like, and without further ado, let's get into it.
Imagine that you've been into grizzly bears since childhood. You know everything about these animals. Collect figurines and t-shirts with pictures of them.
That don't
Go
mean
see them in
shit.
zoos. But one day, you bump into this predator in the forest.
They are
And now,
they are
instead
beautiful
of awe,
creatures.
you're gripped by fear. You try to run away, but escaping from a grizzly bear is almost impossible. They are incredibly fast and can cover almost 100 meters in 8 seconds. You run as fast as you can, hoping the animal will get exhausted, but in vain since grizzly
What movie is this? I'm sorry for pausing it. Please do not crucify me in the comments. What movie is this? And if you are gonna crucify me, at least tell me what the name of this movie is first.
can maintain their maximum speed for a long time. Suddenly, you stumble at the roots of a tree protruding from the ground. The bear stands up over you on its 2 hind legs and sounds a mighty roar. These predators boast a crushing bite force, 454 kilograms per 2.5 square centimeters, which allows them to chew even a bowling ball, let alone your bones. So, the grizzly attacks and tears your body apart in mere seconds. We often admire cute bears, graceful cougars, or hilarious monkeys in zoos. But in the wild, they are hungry and ruthless predators. So, where do you have the highest chance of dying in the jaws of a beast? As always, viewer discretion is advised. Look at this adorable grizzly bear
Wait, what does that mean? What is he finna show? I'm so fucking nervous now.
playing in the pool of an Ohio zoo. It's hard to even imagine that a forest encounter with it might end in you being bitten in half, right? Yet you must be careful while choosing camping spots if you don't want to end up in the grizzly's den. But that outcome was exactly what an ecologist named Timothy Treadwell wanted.
God.
He constantly sought to prove that the difference between human and beast is only on the outside, meaning that deep down at our core, we are all animals and can find common ground. As proof of his words, he kept people in awe with his courage while communicating with grizzlies in the wild. Timothy set up camp in the spots where he was most likely to meet them. For example, on the Katmai Coast in Alaska, or on the Big Green in Hallow Bay. Timothy got as close as he could to the grizzlies, took pictures of them, and, rumor has it, that he'd even played with the cubs once. But the rangers of Katmai National Park and Preserve weren't huge fans of Treadwell's behavior. It endangered not just Timothy himself, but also all of the park visitors, who only set up camp in the designated parts of the park, where the predators were rare guests. Meanwhile, Timothy frequented the forbidden zones, and since he had brought food with him, its smell might have attracted the bears and nudged them to go to other tourists and more food. For this, Timothy got fined multiple times, and the park management introduced a new rule, which demanded that the visitors move their camp to a distance of at least 1.6 kilometers from the previous campsite every 5 days. All this was to prevent the bears from feeling too comfortable around humans. It was even called the Treadwell Rule, but the ecologist himself wasn't too keen on following it. So, in early October 2003, the bear enthusiast invited his friend Amy Huguenard to a
I'm sorry. I don't want to get like. I'm sorry for pausing it, but he looked like a resemblance of Steve. Like I got like Steve vibes off of that, man.
part of the park called Grizzly Maze to prove to her that it's not that scary to come in contact with these animals.
that.
He wanted to show the girl his favorite female bear, whom he'd seen there multiple times. In her diary, Amy wrote that Treadwell, despite her fears, set up camp near a salmon stream where the grizzlies would often hunt for fish. He did this although in October bears stock up on food for the winter, gain fat, and behave more aggressively than they normally do. Apart from that, bringing weapons to the park was forbidden, so if anything were to happen, the couple would be unable to protect themselves from an attack. Timothy could have at least grabbed a spray to chase away a bear, which contains capsaicin, a substance contained in the red pepper, and works like a pepper spray. But Treadwell was sure that the animal was used to him and wouldn't hurt them. After a few days of camping, on October 6th, a helicopter pilot, following a prior arrangement, arrived at Treadwell and Huguenard's camp to pick them up. But for some reason, the tents were abandoned, and nearby, there was a bear who didn't want to leave. Then the park rangers sounded the alarm and started looking for Timothy and Amy. After walking a bit further from the spot where the couple was supposed to camp, they saw a horrendous scene. There were human remains scattered around the clearing. The rangers wanted to pick them up, but the bear got aggressive after realizing his prey was being taken away from him, so the predator had to be put down. In 85 years of Katmai National Park's history, it was the first known case of a bear killing a human. When a necropsy was done on an animal, the remains of the victims were also found in its belly. But the mutilated bodies of Timothy and Amy weren't the most horrifying thing the rangers happened upon. The couple had left their belongings in the tent. One of those things was a camera. It had recorded a
Did you know that I'm getting my very own channel for SiriusXM?
We about to get into the fucking nitty gritty. Damn, Kelly Clarkson is so fucking fine to me, man. I swear she...
long video, yet it had no image. Most likely, either Timothy or Amy had turned on the camera and didn't even have the time to take the lid off the lens when a bear suddenly attacked them. It was a recording of the human-devouring carnivore growl and the last screams of its victims. A lot of journalists wanted to publish it, but the rangers decided it would be unethical toward the victims and their families. But probably, hearing it would make many people change their minds on whether a predator can be befriended. Yet it's never worth it to go into a wild animal's lair. It'll find you on its own when you least expect it. For instance, during a bike outing. Mountain lions in zoos look like playful kitties.
I don't give a fuck about positive. I wanted to hear that footage, bro. I'm not being disrespectful, but we should hear that footage, bro. Man, that's crazy.
It's like your pets, they like playing the hunter.
Rest in peace to those
And then
people too,
suddenly
man. Rest in
attack you.
peace.
Yet in the case of a wild cougar, you're bound to lose this game. In addition, these predators can be found not only in the desert and the savanna. How about mountains? Do you like alpinism or mountain trips? Mark Reynolds, for example, was a huge fan of riding a mountain bike. On the morning of January 8, 2004, like always, he set out on the Cactus Ridge Trail in Orange County, California. Mark was enjoying the views and, lost in thought, he was clueless that all this time, someone else had been following him step by step. Around noon, a chain on Reynolds' bike broke, so he stopped and bent over to check it. That was when a mountain lion suddenly attacked him. These animals usually jump out from an ambush and immediately kill their victim with a bite on the neck. Then, the mountain lion dragged its victim's body off the track and hid it to have a snack later. That same day, the animal attacked another biker who was passing by. Her name was Ann Yella. Yet her companion and other bikers fended off the cougar when it got the girl by the head and started dragging her to the bushes where it had hidden the previous victim. Mark's parents sued Orange County, claiming that the officials must have known the park was dangerous and should have warned the visitors or even restricted entrance somehow. Yet the county spokeswoman refused to comment on the ongoing court proceeding. So, does this mean you can only rely on yourself? You just need to stay away from the wilderness, the woods, but what if a wild animal can attack you even at home? The most popular animal in any zoo is a lion. Its enclosure is always surrounded by an incredible crowd of visitors who dream of hearing the roar of the king of the jungle. But if you encounter a lion in the wild, you definitely won't admire its roar so much. You don't need to go to the jungle.
I was
or even
muted,
leave your
but
house,
we're
since
gonna
a
just
lion
move
can
on.
find
I'm
you
sorry.
at your own place. For example, the inhabitants of suburban Mafui had a bit of bad luck. Mafui is a small town in the valley of the Luanga River in eastern Zambia. It's surrounded by the woods and the bushes, home to the various animal species that used to attract hunters from all over the world. Yet in 1991, the roles got reversed, and humans became the target of a forest beast, who was at first even thought to be some kind of mystical demon. It all began on July 9th. Two boys were walking home along one of the country roads when a giant creature with sharp teeth and claws pounced at them. It was an enormous lion, who immediately grabbed one of the boys and dragged him off to the bushes. His friend rushed to call for help, but when the village inhabitants arrived at the scene with weapons, it was too late. Nothing remained of the victim but pieces of clothing, flesh, and bones. This was only the beginning of the ominous attacks. In less than a month, a woman was in her home when a giant lion suddenly walked right into her hut. The animal grabbed the poor woman with its claws and dragged her out of the house and then into the forest to eat her. The following night, the predator attacked a young man, but there were game rangers around, and one of them fired a warning shot into the air, making the lion abandon its prey and flee. Sadly, the man still died in the hospital from the injuries he'd sustained. The game rangers described the lion as maneless, about 3 meters in length, and with a weight of around 227 kilograms, which made it an unusually large specimen. The giant's attacks continued since it showed incredible cunning by evading the rangers and their traps. The predator roared at the armed people as if mocking them. Its behavior was, in fact, quite strange. One time it walked into the house of a woman named Jesleen the following day after killing her and took a laundry sack with it. With the sack in its teeth, the lion walked out into the town full of people. Everyone froze with fear. Then the lion eyed the crowd, put the bag on the ground, let out an insolent, piercing roar, picked the sack back up, and headed for the woods. Since that day, the lion was always seen with this bag, playing with it, like a house cat playing with a toy. They say the lion only left the sack behind to go hunting. The locals started thinking that some demonic entity had possessed the animal, and all the victims were dying as retribution.
Wait, what the fuck? That was real shit? Like, whoa, what the fuck? I thought this nigga was telling a story.
For their own or their relatives' wrongdoings. The small town dwellers couldn't take this life of fear anymore. So, in August 1991, the local officials summoned a hunter named Wayne Hosack and his companion, Charles Bukes, to finally put an end to the lion's reign. The hunters found the lion's favorite sack in a dry riverbed and decided to set up an ambush there. They placed a bait of hippopotamus meat and waited. Yet, the lion would either not come or dodge the bullets and escape with the bait from under the hunters' noses. At some point, the men also started thinking there was something supernatural about this animal. But it wasn't about anything mystical. Maneless lions are very rare in nature, but there have been a few sightings in that area. They are speculated to possibly be their own species or subspecies that have been separated from other lions for a long time. The scientists think these animals represent an ancient line of wild cats that existed as far back as the Pleistocene epoch. They were also dubbed buffalo lions, who are ready to hunt especially large prey. The hunters stayed in their hideout for around 3 weeks when Hosack finally managed to shoot the animal. Since then, the inhabitants of Mafui have finally found peace. But where else can you be attacked by predators who look so cute in their enclosures? At the zoo. Videos like these that show animals hunting for visitors but failing because or The Glass, for some reason, have a lot of likes and funny comments. Yet people tend to forget that even in captivity, predators remain predators. Forget about grizzlies and lions. Even a monkey can hurt you. In June 2022, 19-year-old Hassanal Arifin was teasing a local orangutan at Kasangkulam Zoo in the Indonesian province of Riau. At that moment, the zoo security guards were having their lunch break, and the troublemaker decided to make use of that. Hassanal climbed over the enclosure fence. The furious primate grabbed the guy by the shirt and dragged him to its cage. These animals normally don't attack people, but it's better to leave them alone since they're 5 to 7 times stronger than us and can even tear their bully apart. The orangutan gripped Hassanal's leg so tightly
Oh
that no
my
one could
God.
drag the guy away from the animal. The primate pulled the guy's shoes off and even tried to bite his toes. In the end, Hassanal was freed. The troublemaker was kicked out of the zoo and severely reprimanded. Yet Hassanal was extremely lucky to have stayed alive, since a zoo animal can attack for no reason. On May 29, 2017, Rosa King, an employee of Hammertoon Zoo in England, was washing the windows in the enclosure of a Malayan tiger named Sisip, while the animal was supposedly locked behind a gate installed there to ensure the personnel's safety. Yet, as it turned out later, this was far from the truth. A visitor contacted the park employees, claiming that he'd seen someone's mutilated body in the enclosure. As it turned out, someone had forgotten to close the gate, and the tiger attacked Rosa, mauling the poor woman to death. Yet, sometimes, animals
How the fuck you forget to close the fucking gate? What?
suddenly bite the hand that feeds them. On December 22nd, 2006, an employee of the San Francisco Zoo named Lori Comejon was publicly feeding a tigress, Tatiana, through the enclosure fence. The spectators were going insane at this exciting sight. Yet, on that day, this little show turned into a nightmare. At some point, the tigress sank its claws into Comejon's right arm, dragged her into the enclosure, and bit her. Nothing was done about the predator after this, though, and everyone decided Lori herself was to blame for the incident. Furthermore, the woman, who had a few surgeries and a skin transplantation, was fined for supposedly breaking safety regulations. Yet the zoo administration soon regretted not keeping the tigress more safely. A year later, on December 25th, Tatiana jumped over the enclosure fence. The witnesses say they saw a group of friends consisting of Carlos Eduardo Sousa, Amrit Paul, and Kolber Dhaliwal teasing the tigress and throwing objects at it. That's why the angry animal broke free and pounced at its attackers. Meanwhile, the zoo employees found out about the tigress's escape. Armed zoo employees found Tatiana near Kolber Dhaliwal. They didn't shoot at first, afraid of hitting the guy, yet they killed the predator eventually. The Dhaliwal brothers sustained serious wounds from the tigress's claws, and Sousa was found dead with numerous injuries, including a fractured skull and spine. Witnesses of the attack noted Sousa was the only one in the group who didn't tease the animal. Do you already have a favorite animal at your local zoo? Tell me in the comments, and
Man, look here. That's fucked up. I got nothing. Rest in peace to that boy. Rest in peace to everybody in this video who died from animals. That's fucking crazy. But for those who survived the wounds from throwing shit at the tiger, what the fuck did we learn? But I feel like that could possibly be like some cover up shit. They were throwing stuff at it and it got aggressive. I don't know. Possibly. But that's gonna do it for this one. Like, comment, and subscribe into the next one. Hopefully I didn't talk too much in this one for you guys as well. But yeah, until the next time.